This is the game that never ends.
It just goes on and on, my friends.
Yeah, so we have... I'm at the point where I'm very certain that there's no way that this is the only mystery of the entire game. Like, I don't even think this is going to be the epitaph is going to be the myth arc. Something else has to happen. Because at the rate we're going... And, like, we're gonna have this mystery with the epitaph solved necessarily in a few days by the end of, like, chapter 2 at the farthest. So, I don't know.
We'll see.
I don't know what else is gonna happen in this game. It'll be fun. Anyway, I did also, some commenters mentioned that Tristan's voice was starting to get a bit overbearing, so... I've decided that we are going to change Battler's voice.
Oh,
it will no longer be Tristan's voice. Nah, it's going to be Joey Wheeler voice.
Oh no!
No, I'm not going to do that. Battler will just get my normal speaking voice for now.
Okay.
Because he's going to be remaining the main character for a very long while. So it's, I think at some point the funniness of continuing the joke will outweigh people's listening ability towards episode 67. Anyway, the uncomfortable atmosphere continued even after those two left. It was thick with the idea that simply thinking about the culprit's identity would be the same as deciding whom to suspect. Wow, Battler making fine distinctions. Alright. Is Battler secretly, like, good at shit?
I don't know.
I'm worried Battler might be secretly good at shit. Began to feel like the discussion of the case itself was taboo. So no one mentioned the case, at least out loud. However, those thoughts that were what filled our minds. All that we couldn't say aloud made our heads feel like they were going to explode.
Well, if you couldn't say it, then it's not allowed. It makes sense.
So at least on the outside, the parlor had once again regained its calm mood. Everything was left unsettled.
It feels like the rain's gotten a little lighter.
Strangely, no one commented on hating Maria's voice, so guess what we're keeping? Still pouring down. Even if it did stop, there's no boat on this island. But it'd be nice if the boat came quickly tomorrow. By the way, you sound so weird. What are you talking about, Maria? This is my normal voice. This has always been my normal voice. Maria, why are you jumping to conclusions about stuff like this?
Oh my god. Oh my god. You found it. The solution to the mystery. Battler is Beato. We don't suspect Battler just because he's the viewpoint character.
You're right.
But we know very little about him in comparison to the others.
You're right. Battler's seeming kind of sus. I've had enough of this Western mansion vacation.
Mom, when will the boat come tomorrow? Fuck. I forgot.
We gave her a vaguely southern accent.
Yeah, and then we switched to have me do it. Right, okay. Yeah. Normally, the boat to take them back would arrive at 3 p.m. today. They probably sent us a phone call to say that they would come after the typhoon passed, but unfortunately, the phones aren't working.
I sure do hate living inside of a mystery visual novel.
I like that your version of the southern accent was kind of like posh Southern Belle attempt, and mine is just very much not, and also still not good. I'm sorry that I am a fake Southerner.
You're not a fake Southerner is the thing. You're the legit Southerner of the two of us. Flatlander.
But they aren't children over there. They were told to both drop off and collect our guests. So they will most likely arrive first thing tomorrow morning. Probably about 9, I believe.
Now then, now that we've been talking about this, who wants to divvy up the weapons for them there sleeping tonight?
I get the gun. You all get the nothing.
First of all, we got a very fine-looking morning star here. It was completely black outside. When I looked at the clock, I realized that it was just past 7. I was starting to get hungry. In the kitchen, Kumasawa was cooking enthusiastically. Oh, I'm so happy to be cooking. She had laid out a variety of dishes, and while they didn't match the level of Goto's artful cooking, they were still quite gorgeous. It was an act of kindness from Kumasawa, who was trying to enliven everyone's low spirits with some food. Kumasawa wasn't nearly as talented as a professional cook like Goto, but she was far from unskilled. On the contrary, since she had been brought up in a fishing village, the simple food she created was sometimes highly praised. Cannon arranged the food Kumasawa had finished creating on plates under her direction. Cannon also helped in the kitchen sometimes, but since he was rarely placed in that role, he was slightly awkward, even though he tried his best. Self-conscious about the fact that he couldn't cleverly arrange the food, Cannon's expression darkened slightly. But Kumasawa smiled, as though everything was fine.
I've forgotten. Was Goto one of the confirmed dead?
Goto? Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I don't have to wait around for him.
Wait, what?
We don't have to wait.
Thank you.
So you see, that was a joke, a pun based on the title of a little-known play by some guy named Sammy Beckett. Sammy B, as he goes by in the trade. It's arranged beautifully. Cannon-kun, aren't you skilled?
If it had been Shannon Ne-san, it would look even more beautiful.
Cannon stopped arranging the food for a bit and hung his head.
I miss her plating. Specifically.
That's, you know what? We all process grief in different ways. So that's... You know what? I'm not going to pretend to understand, but it's valid. I'm not going to take that away from you.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, my grief is mostly through kitchen skills.
All right. Shannon was the one who always assisted Kumasawa with her cooking. Tonight, Cannon was doing it instead. And as he remembered Shannon's face and her brutal end, he grimaced. Forget that for now. Genji spoke kindly to Cannon as he advanced to pawn. Nanjo had escaped from the parlor once the mood had grown sour, and Genji had become his opponent in a game of chess upon Nanjo's request. Yeah. Oh, maybe that's Cannon still?
Oh. Yes, I will forget it for now.
Indeed, that is probably for the best. Genji purposely refrained from facing Cannon as he spoke. He did so because he understood that it might make things tougher on Cannon if he noticed that someone was looking at his eyes. Nanjo also understood that and held back any thoughtless words. I wonder where Kinzo-san has gone. I was here, sir. What? I do not know. However, I believe that everything has proceeded as the master has hoped and arranged for. To distrust that would exceed my role as furniture in service to the master. Aren't you scared, Genji-san? Oh, so can we talk about this furniture thing? I got the devotion to our job. This is, it's just a little bit debasing, and I don't think it's quite healthy. So, no? Just me. Just me? Well, I never.
That fucking Kinzo. He treats people like objects, and objects like people.
I'm frightened that something bad will occur again tonight. I have nothing to be afraid of. I serve the Ushiromiya family, and that is all. Nanjo sighed through his nose and made a carefully considered move. Nanjo was very slightly dubious. Could Genji possibly be thinking that he'd be left out of this?
I don't think that was the implication.
I don't think that was. I think Genji enthusiast are. Oh wait, no, I'm thinking about something else. Don't worry about it. I'm tired.
I think Genji knows very well he might die and is just like,
just like taking
that's my job.
Well,
serve the freaky occultist dude. Might die.
That's life.
Yep.
Am I right?
I serve the Ushiromiya family. That's part and parcel of the job description.
He couldn't even imagine what was happening inside this mansion. But he definitely couldn't deny the possibility that Kinzo had devised something. Feeling in the silent chest. Chess. Kinzo had opened the game, and as a result, 6 pieces had been defeated. Could it be that Genji was calm because he believed he alone was on the outside of the chessboard?
Quick,
And then
what's
forsake.
Kinzo's favorite open? Sound off in the comments. What's every character's favorite chess open?
Kinzo's favorite open is the one where he just takes one pawn and keeps advancing it, and and will not stop advancing it.
Battler definitely runs the Bong Cloud open every time.
I hate that I have enough.
And he's equally amazed when it does work as when it doesn't.
I mean, I guess that works. Nanja thought about it. Isn't everyone just a piece on this chessboard, lined up equally without any exceptions? Wasn't even Genji, who had gained more of Kinzo's trust than anyone, who was confident of his position as Kinzo's only close friend, just another one of the pieces laid out on the chessboard? Genji-san, I'm truly frightened about tonight. I hope with all my heart that we will still be safe when tomorrow morning comes.
Then hope.
The guest room Eva and Hideyoshi moved into had originally been built to house guests before the guest house construction. So until a few years ago, they had stayed in these rooms every family conference and were very familiar with them. This room was just like a room at a hotel, with a bedroom and a bathroom, so even though they were still shut in, it was far more comfortable than the parlor.
I guess it's true. You can relax more when you're alone with your family. Maybe it'd be better if everyone else also shut themselves in guest rooms and locked the doors.
Have I ever told you how much I love that Kansai accent of yours?
It's definitely not fake.
Natsuhine-san said that no one could leave the parlor, throwing her weight around. I'm sure no one will be able to talk back. She's always been treated so coldly, so now that Nissan's dead, she's getting excited about finally having so much power. Seriously, how shameless can she be? Oh, so that's what Ava thinks is going on. But it's not that she's getting more power, it's because she was emboldened by Kinzo.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we saw that scene, so I feel pretty confident making that call. But
Come now, don't say that.
why not?
Natsuhi-san's doing pretty well. No need to jump on her like that. And about that receipt earlier, you went too far.
Oh yeah, I'm so glad no one interrogated me about why I set it up in the first place. Like, what motive did I have to put it in the door in the first place?
I know, right?
I'm super. I hope you don't ask me about this. Come on. If I hadn't said it there wouldn't be another good time to say it.
Was that a good time?
Ava, sulking cutely and looking at the television, sat alongside Hideyoshi, who was lying on the bed. Seriously, have we fully explored the implications of what that means for Ava?
We do not know.
Alright.
Who's talking?
Still, we haven't been alone like this for quite some time.
You're right. Come to think of it, both you and I have gotten pretty old. Since George was born, everything's gone by in the blink of an eye.
It really has. I wonder if we were too hasty in having a child. Ava's eyes looked like they were staring off into the distance. Yes, she had thought of it as a once-in-a-lifetime chance. Her older brother Kraus had been unable to father a child for quite some time. 6 years passed after his marriage to Natsuhi without any signs of pregnancy, which didn't please Kinzo at all. Ava herself had thought that, since her name would be moved outside the Urushiromiya register when she got married anyway, it didn't matter whether a successor to the headship was born or not. And then one day, she had a heavenly revelation. Maybe it was the whisperings of the devil that she had listened to in her greed. She could give birth to a successor first. Wouldn't she be able to remain in the Urushiromiya register? Well, we've known this. They've explained this before.
But they haven't explained specifically that this was why she had George.
Right.
We just knew that, oh, well, as it so happens, George was the one that was born first and nobody else had a successor, and that's why this happened. But this is like, no, Ava
It's very
knew
explicit.
that. That is why George exists.
Yep. Poor George. Maybe a little
George.
Porch. Oh, sleepy sessions are fun. When she proposed this to Hideyoshi, he had approved of it instantly because it meant more boning. This wasn't because Hideyoshi also had greedy thoughts. Although he did... See, for them it was both. It was like little column A, little column B.
But for Ava, it was column A.
For Hideyoshi, who had no close relatives, it was a chance for him to feel once more the long-forgotten thing called family. So when they got married, he hadn't fussed over which last name they were to keep, and had quickly agreed to have his name entered into the Ushiromiya register. It hadn't been easy to persuade Kinzo, but as his daughter, Ava knew Kinzo's personality well, so by choosing the time when Kinzo was most dissatisfied with Natsuhi, she was magnificently able to make him accept Hideyoshi as an adopted son-in-law. Looking at Hideyoshi, who had achieved success after starting from nothing, Kinzo might have seen a little bit of himself. He quickly grew to like Hideyoshi and approved his transfer into the Ushiromiya family register. George would eventually become the successor to the Ushiromiya family. They had raised him strictly with that purpose in mind. He had been worth their while and grown into a fabulous young man who wouldn't disappoint no matter where he went. That was why he had not been permitted to fall in love with a servant like Shannon.
And that's why Ava was pissed about it and Hideyoshi was not.
Oh god, you're right.
Because Hideyoshi does not give a shit about all this propriety stuff.
Yep.
And is just like, yeah, I want family. Do the thing that makes you
My
feel
son's
best.
fiance is now dead.
And then Ava's like, nope. You're here to become successor for me and bring the Ushiromiya family glory.
Yep.
No servants for you.
So when she learned that Shannon was dead and the engagement was now invalid, though part of her had still been shocked by the gruesome crime, part of her had also been relieved that her dear George wouldn't be stolen by some servant girl.
I kind of hate Ava.
Yeah, I kind of hate Ava too, which sucks because I kind of liked her going into the first act there.
Yeah,
but
me too.
I have hated Kraus-Nissan since long ago. He was so full of himself, always swaggering around. I wish there was a shorter word for that. Maybe there will be. He was so proud that he would one day become the head. So I wanted to get back at him. Was that just a childish emotion? But in the end, that emotion guided my entire life. If that had been all, then it would have been fine. But because of that emotion, I got you and George involved. I used you.
Ava, don't blame yourself for that.
Hideyoshi got up and held Ava's shoulder. She could feel a warm understanding from him.
You feel a warm understanding from me?
Wow, I can feel a warm understanding from you, Hideyoshi. Well, I reached the halfway point in my life a long time ago. But you know, I have absolutely no regrets about how I've lived my life. Not one.
Wait,
Now it's Hideyoshi.
I think that since I've been with you, Ava, I've been able to relish an enjoyable life that other men never will.
You're just saying that because you like the pussy. I mean, am I wrong?
That is not strictly false.
I mean, like, not to brag, I just know I'm good is all. I mean, don't get, this is a two-part exercise here. I mean, like, definitely a little, there's definitely some work being put in on you. I'm just saying that we fuck well. And, you know, maybe that's part of why our marriages lasted this long. Thoughts? What? What? Is fucking well not the basis of a good marriage for some people?
It probably is, I'm sure.
After I lost my relatives in the war, you reminded me what the warmth of family is.
Wow, I suddenly sound like Ava-san.
Oh. Sorry.
After I lost my relatives in the war, you reminded me what the warmth of family is. So I'm grateful to the Ushiromiya family and think of it as my only one.
Still,
I don't know who's
that's still
talking.
Hideyoshi.
In this life I've led with you, not a single thing's been wasted. It's really been a fun life up till today, the last day of it.
Yep, they're absolutely about to die, huh?
Yep, they are going to be torn apart literally just like it fucking said.
Thank you, darling. Ava hung her chest, burying her face in Hideyoshi's chest. Probably no one in the parlor could even imagine that this side of Ava existed.
I'm the one who should be thanking you. Until today, there hasn't been a single day I've regretted being with you.
But today, I regret today a whole darn lot. Me too. I'm so glad to have you by my side.
George is already a fine adult. Even if I don't look out for him, he's a man who could do his job well on his own. I wonder, round New Year's, do you want to go spend some time in the, is it pronounced Maldives or Maldives? I don't know how to pronounce the name of that country.
I'm uncertain. I think it is Maldives, but I could be wrong. I used to think it was Maldives, but that's definitely not right. Are you okay?
Don't worry about it.
Okay.
I didn't just lose an
Our-
item.
Oh. So let me guess. Hold on. Let me paint a word picture here of what's going on. So Vivian is sitting in one place on the couch and furiously examining every single nook and cranny around her because, and I'm just gonna take a guess here. She probably took off our wedding ring and was fiddling around with it, as she is wont to do, and then she probably dropped it and was hoping to find it before I would notice.
This is all correct. I cannot help it that I have a fidget toy that is attached to my body. Wait, it's not attached to my body.
Yet. Working on it.
Anyway,
Still you.
just us, no one else.
No way. Aren't you always saying that you're so busy responding to New Year's cards that you don't even sleep?
None of that this New Year's. I won't read New Year's cards. I'll just stay quiet and check to see if I won the New Year's lottery. It'd sure be nice if we won a color TV this year. I'm still on the black and white TV.
No way. A color TV.
It's like 1987, isn't it? I'm behind the times. I'm old-fashioned.
You know, I do
way.
hear that they've got to move those refrigerators. They've also got to move those color TVs.
That must be difficult. I hear they're pretty heavy.
No way. I don't want to waste time checking the lottery while in the Maldives.
They're none of that either. How does it sound? Just the two of us? Taking it easy like when we were newlyweds? Just before George was born?
Yeah. In that case, fine.
I hear the Maldives are wonderful. If that is indeed how you say it.
There's no
An
way to
island
know.
with nothing on it, surrounded by beautiful coral reefs and cottages lined up over the water.
Like when we were newlyweds, you say? Starting when?
As soon as I've finished up some business. I won't know till I ask the travel agency, but probably before New Year's Eve.
That's probably too far in the future. I was thinking more like 4 hours from now, at most. No way. Right now. I want to go right now.
That's probably smart, unfortunately.
Ava nagged at his lips in a peevish yet flirtatious manner. The only sounds that filled the room were the distant voice of the announcer on the news, which Hideyoshi had left on, and the obnoxious pounding of the rain against the window.
So they can get the news, but they can't communicate out. Ooh.
Right. Because it's not that communication is completely cut off, it's that the phone specifically and the radio specifically were sabotaged. There was a knock on the door, and Genji-san entered. Madam, dinner has been prepared. Will you eat in here again?
Yes. Have it brought here. Is Dr. Banjo still in the kitchen?
Yes, he is with Kazooie. He has said he wishes to carefully deliberate over his next move in the Jiggies puzzle. Because they're using if we're running with this joke, he's using Jiggies. And
I
he's
don't
doing
know what this reference is.
The Jiggies are the little collectible things from Banjo and Kazooie.
Okay.
For the Nintendo 60 and 4. Do not worry, he is with the other servants.
Genji-san's good enough at chess to be grandfather's opponent. I hear he's even better than Dr. Nanjo, right? That's right. Long ago, he played against me, but he must have let me win.
Maria, it sounds like it'll be time to eat soon. But look at you, you've been watching TV all day long, and you still haven't even gotten bored. I don't like you, Badler. Badler's a witch. Maria, why do you keep saying that? This is the voice I've always had, Maria. Guys, help me out here. George, Jessica, isn't this the voice I've always had?
Yes, I, George, do not hear anything different about any of our voices.
I'm always watching TV, so I'm fine.
Maria-chan sure is a TV kid.
I like SpongeBob.
Food's coming, so we have to clean up the table.
Earlier we had torn several pages out of Maria's notebook, and there was now a mess where everyone had been drawing together. Jessica had been cleaning that up quickly. Still, everyone here can really draw. I'd never guessed. Everyone here is capable of drawing some pretty intricate-looking stuff, almost like everyone here could possibly draw a magic circle, possibly.
Genji, ask Ava-san and Hideyoshi-san whether they'd least like to have dinner with us, although they will probably turn us down.
They are likely fucking, ma'am.
Even better, interrupt them.
As you wish, you vengeful bitch. Certainly.
First father, and now Ava-san. It's quite hard to gather everyone to the Ushiromiya dinner table.
Natsuhi felt her headache start throbbing again and lightly held her temples.
Tarnation, my temples.
The distance from the kitchen to... Oh, yep, they're absolutely dead. They are absolutely...
But we won't know yet.
Yeah.
We'll know in the morning.
The distance from the kitchen to the parlor wasn't that great, so Genji had gone to come back by himself, but the guest room was a little farther away. Natsuki had warned him to avoid being alone whenever possible, and just now Nanjo had also admonished him, saying it would be better if he had held a little more concern for his safety. Kanon accompanied Genji, and the two of them went to visit Ava and Hideyoshi in their guest room. Genji knocked on the door. Ava-sama, Hideyoshi-sama, dinner has been prepared. He waited for a short while for them to come out, but there was no response.
Genji-sama, look at this.
Kanon pointed under the door. A Western envelope had been inserted under it. Normally when something was inserted this way, it'd be interpreted as a message from someone outside to someone in the room. So since this might be a private note meant for Ava and Hideyoshi, it was not something that Kanon and Genji were supposed to take interest in. But this Western envelope was one of Kinzo's, the same as the one that Maria had taken out last night and surprised everyone with. There can be no mistake. It is one of the Master's envelopes.
Or could it be?
It probably is also that. Even though this was one of Kinzo's envelopes, the... scrolling happened.
Hold on.
The letter Maria read aloud the previous night hadn't come from Kinzo. Genji continued knocking a little harder and called out in a loud voice. Ava-sama. Ava-sama. It is Genji. Are you there? Please answer, Ava-sama. But there was no response from inside. Sometimes when the servants went to call some guests for a meal, the guests would be sleeping so deeply they wouldn't wake up. In times like that, the servants would stick a letter in the door to show that it was time to come out and leave the guest be. But despite that, Genji beat even harder on the door, called out Ava's name. However, there was no answer. Cannon stuck his ear up to the door, held his breath, and listened for any sounds coming from inside.
I hear something that sounds like the television.
What channel is it tuned to?
Fucking Fox.
I say we just let them die.
But I don't sense anyone. The room might be empty.
Genji took out a handkerchief and, careful not to touch it with his bare hands, gently pulled out the envelope that had been stuck under the door.
I make sure to never leave fingerprints.
Damn.
Like a non-suspicious person.
I mean, fair. It was sealed with deep red sealing wax. Without a doubt, the mark on that sealing wax had come from the Ushiromiya family's head ring. Ava-sama! Ava-sama, please answer! Are you still in your room? But there was still no answer. There's a chance that those two were aimlessly walking around the mansion. This was the home Ava had grown up in. There's plenty of reason to think that she had gone out on a casual stroll. Genji groped around in his pocket and pulled out the bundle of keys, which contained the key that would open the guest room. I think this is probably Cannon.
Genji-sama?
Cannon also understood what this meant. They would sometimes unlock the door so they could go in and do things like make the beds, but only after they made sure the guests were out. To unlock the door for any other reason, and especially to do so when there was a chance the guests hadn't been given permission and might still be in there, was an action unbecoming of a servant. But Genji had decided. The only problem had been that his knock hadn't received a reply. He wouldn't have gone this far. But the envelope under the door was doubtlessly one of Kinzo's. Or rather, one of the Western envelopes the Ushiromiya family had. After last night, the sender of this envelope could be someone other than Kinzo. This letter had been sent by someone else. Ava-sama, my apologies. Allow me to enter your room. After giving that final notice, Genji stuck one of the keys from the bundle into the keyhole. There was the sound of the door unlocking, and after slowly turning the knob, he started opening the door. Light seeped through the crack of the door. Were they in the room, or had they forgotten to turn out the lights? Blank. It was the sound of the door chain being pulled tight. The chain had been secured. The chain couldn't be secured from the outside, so
as we make
also
sure to
proved that they were
establish.
in the room. The sound of voices on the TV seeped out of the room. The lights, the chain, and the TV. All of these things made it clear that they were in the room. There was no sign of them. Genji called to Ava once again through the crack in the door, but there was no answer.
Genji-sama, what should we do?
As part of their job, the servants were able to unlock almost any lock in the mansion, but they had no way to open a door with a chain. The only way to get by the chain was to cut it. That was certainly not permitted as part of a servant's usual work. A creepy chill had already rushed up their backs. Cannon held his breath again and tried to sense someone through the door, but even so, he was not able to sense anyone. I will call Madam in return. Cannon, cut the chain.
Yes.
To be fair, in a scenario where there has been like 6 fucking murders on the island within the past 24 hours, yeah, I could see him reacting like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, like this seems fair. As Cannon hurried away to get a cutting tool, Genji told him to stop. Wait, Cannon. Return to the kitchen and take Kumasawa with you. You must not act alone.
I, on the other hand, will act alone.
Just because I am too cool to die.
Yes, certainly.
I'm glad you agree that I am too cool to die. It looked like Cannon was wondering why he had to do something troublesome in the middle of this urgent situation. Genji had said it out of wariness. Sorry. He didn't care what happened to himself, but in the worst case scenario, he didn't want anything to happen to Cannon.
I like that they fucking explain the loose end that I brought up seconds after I brought it up.
Yeah, I was mentioning that earlier,
Yeah.
like this game is good about that. In the kitchen, Kumasawa was piling food on the serving cart, and Nanjo was waiting for Genji, apparently wanting to show him a move he'd finally thought up that might turn the tables on him. But Genji's appearance immediately told him
Bong Club opening.
I'm sorry, you called it the what?
You know, Bong Cloud.
Did you just call it the Bong Cloud opening?
Yeah.
I love your Nanjo voice.
I don't know how to make my voice sound jowly. But whatever's happened, I just got...
Dr. Nanjo, my apologies, but please allow this match to be suspended for the time being. Cannon, take care of the chain. Kumasawa, stop setting up dinner for now and accompany Cannon. I will go over to Madam. You would come with me, Dr. Nanjo.
Has something happened?
No, we're just doing this for shits and giggles.
We
Genji,
do this every night.
it's like a fire drill. Genji took Nanjo, who still didn't know what was going on, and quickly left the kitchen.
Kumasawa-san, my apologies, but please come with me.
Oh, what just happened, Cannon-san?
Kumasawa said almost exactly the same thing as Nanjo, unable to take in the situation, and chased after Cannon, who had flown out into the hallway. Taking Kumasawa with him, Cannon went to a storage room and looked through the tools packed in toolboxes hanging all over the walls, trying to find something that could be used to cut the chain.
What are you looking for? Let me help too.
We're cutting a door chain. Where was that large wire cutter?
A door chain? Why would you do something like that?
The chain to Eva-sama and Hideyoshi-sama's room. Even though they should be inside, they didn't answer when we called them.
It took Kumasawa some time to figure out how cutting the chain and Eva and Hideyoshi not answering were connected, but she did realize that this was an urgent situation.
That one will probably do the trick. Oh,
Cannon took down a very large wire cutter that had been hanging on the wall.
Ken, you sounded like me for a moment there.
Yes, it runs in the family.
But we're not related. What? That's just raising more questions. Oh.
It was called a cutter, but maybe it'd be easier to understand if we said it was shaped like a large pair of pliers.
Tell me more about what wire cutters are shaped like.
Alright, so, you know that one anime that has the one girl who has the blade? It's a red blade, it's got kind of a handle on it, it can extend. Also, clothing's evil.
No.
Well, it's like two of those put together. Ken remembered once being warned that this dangerous tool could easily cut through one of your fingers. Ken took that and rushed up the stairs.
Ow, my fingers.
He already knew instinctively. You should fight for every minute, every second to open it quickly. Or perhaps it was already.
Please wait, Cannon-san. Ooh. Ooh. Yeah. Ooh.
Hurry. Hurry.
Ooh.
Kumasawa eventually caught up with him, gasping for breath with both hands on her knees. Cannon changed his grip on the wire cutters and looked up at the door. He let out an struck speechless. Damn, son. Where'd you find this?
What is this?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Are you alright?
Yeah.
What is this? Beep.
Kumasawa screamed weakly, her face pallid. That was no surprise, because right there on the door, just like the magic circle that had been drawn on the shutter Rose Garden storehouse, there was another eerie shape drawn with a blood-like paint. However, it'd be odd to call this one a magic circle, because unlike what most people would expect, it wasn't a circle with shapes drawn inside it, but a slightly more complicated geometrical shape. It's kind of like a door and a wall, yeah. However, those strange characters filling the gaps, which weren't from the alphabet, but the same kind as the ones in that magic circle on the shutter. But the thing that Cannon struck speechless wasn't how eerie the magic circle was. It was that something like this hadn't been here a short while ago. First, he had taken a trip back to the kitchen. After that, he had gone to the storage room to grab a tool and headed right back. Put those together, and it couldn't have been more than 5 minutes. How could someone add something this creepy during that period of time? And as though it had just been drawn. Almost like the door itself was bleeding, several unsettling vertical red lines slowly dripped down, getting longer and longer.
Eep. Eep. Eek.
Kumasawa's knees gave way and she sank down on the spot. Kumasawa hadn't done... You called this, by the way. You were the one of... yeah, you called this one way before.
Fucking did.
Yeah, you get all the props for this. Congratulations on murdering these two. If Kumasawa hadn't done this first, then Cannon surely would have wanted to.
Beatrice-sama. Eek.
Wait,
I think that was Cannon.
Sama.
Eek! It was a work of Beatrice. How horrid! How horrid! Ellipsis! Cannon gulped, then readied the wire cutter and approached the door. He didn't want to get close to this disturbing magic circle, and he... What is a better phrase for that? It's not a glyph, because a glyph is like one of the particular objects in it. It'd be more like a...
Sigil?
Sigil?
Perhaps?
That might be closer. Leave your thoughts in the comments below.
I vote sigil.
Okay. And he really didn't want to touch the steadily dripping substance that looked like blood. But if he didn't get close, he wouldn't be able to cut the chain. Betting his cold feeling, he gulped again, and after gathering his courage, went even closer, putting the wire cutter up against the chain. He then pressed with all his strength, managing to cut through the chain far more easily than he'd anticipated. The cut chain fell in two separate parts, which continued to clang as they swayed back and forth.
This door is off the chain.
Oh, that was very funny, Cannon. Oh, did you come up with that one on your own?
No.
Oh, well, whoever came up with it, they were quite funny. Cannon-san, there was an envelope by your feet. And isn't that the master's? It looked like Kumasawa had also noticed the western envelope at the bottom of the door. Oh, they didn't take it with them last time. They left it there. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's the sealing wax. And the sealing wax had been sealed with the head's ring. Cannon hesitated for just a second over whether he should open the letter first or check inside the room, but eventually decided on fulfilling his original purpose. Cannon pulled a handkerchief out of his pocket. This is so he wouldn't leave fingerprints on the door. His worst fears were realized. The police would want to investigate this room too. He slowly pushed the door open. He was able to more clearly hear the sound of the television, which had been seeping out faintly this whole time.
Eva-sama?
Eva was lying face up on the bed with her shoes still on. Kumasawa, who had fearfully entered after Cannon and who was hiding behind his eek, screamed a short eek again when she saw Eva like that. Eva's shoes had been the first part of her that Cannon had seen, so the oddness of wearing shoes in bed was the first thing to strike him, but when Eva's head shifted into his line of sight, Cannon couldn't help but let out a short scream like Kumasawa. Right in the middle of Eva's forehead, something had been placed? Something was growing there. No. Right in the center of her forehead. Was it an old-fashioned knife? That or some weapon like it was sticking out. Our game has cool blood effects. At the base of where it was stuck in, blood dripped down, staining the sheets on the other side bright red. Kumasawa's knees gave way once more, and she sank down onto the floor. Her mouth kept flapping open and closed, but she couldn't even scream. Eva was dead with some kind of weapon sticking out of her forehead. Both eyes were open wide, and the image of the person who killed her must have been burned into them. The only mouth capable of naming that person had been shut for all eternity. Even though her forehead was the last place they wanted to look, they couldn't tear their eyes from it. Right there, the weapon was stuck into Ava's forehead, standing almost perfectly upright. Man, this is like my second favorite time that Ava's gotten skewered. That was a reference to Vivian's favorite film. Maybe you know what film it is. Perhaps you do. Sound off in the comments.
If so, tell me. I would like to know. I would like to see it.
And on the handle was a complicated design that you wouldn't expect to see on an ordinary weapon. That thing could be summed with the word cult. It was a vulgar object with a design that might have been of some sort of demon.
What if...
Oh, yeah, that's canon.
I don't know. What about Hideyoshi-sama? Hideyoshi-sama.
Ava was on top of her bed, but the other bed was empty. Where was Hideyoshi? After taking a backwards glance at Kumasawa, still on her knees and stupefied, he checked the bathroom just in case. At that moment he opened the door, he was greeted by steam and the sound of the shower. The bathroom was of the same familiar style as most hotel bathrooms. Taking a shower, a waterproof curtain was used to keep water from flying out. That waterproof curtain was half open, and lying tumbled down in the bathtub was Hideyoshi, completely naked with both eyes open, and pointing right at Cannon. Just like Eva, a weapon with a demon-like design was stuck into his forehead. Since his head had been under the shower's hot water this whole time, his face wasn't half covered and filthy with blood like Ava's had been, but the sight of him dead while still taking a shower was tragic enough.
So the one thing I got wrong in my call, I assumed that they were going to have been literally torn apart, which is not what occurred. They were
Yeah.
simply stabbed.
Yeah.
So, I'm not 100% confident with my guesses based on that, but
Well-
I got close.
Well, it's weird that they were in the different rooms.
Yeah. So it's probably still figurative, torn apart like we
Yeah.
originally thought.
Just then they heard Natsuhi's voice coming in from the hall. She was probably coming with Genji.
Again, with this graffiti.
Again, with this graffiti.
What about this letter? What does it say inside?
I don't know. I haven't read it. There are dead fucking bodies here, madam. What do you think my priorities are? We're trying to touch it so carelessly. Do not touch the letter so... The culprit's fingerprints might be left on it. We should hand it over to the police.
They went out of their way to leave it here. I'm sure they wouldn't have left fingerprints.
As Natsuhi said that, she picked up the envelope.
Now I've left fingerprints.
But you have.
And before checking its contents, she entered the room herself where she found Ava, dead.
Ava-san.
Madam, Hideyoshi-sama is here too.
Oh, maybe with a cannon. This is probably, Natsuhi again.
This is truly atrocious.
I definitely think that because she managed to survive the night that was probably meant for her, Natsuhi has probably got some kind of mystical plot armor going on now.
Perhaps. Wait, who's telling Ken to turn off the shower
Oh,
now?
I don't know.
Connor, turn off the shower. Don't let us be any more pitiful than it needs to be.
Wait. It was Natsuhi? I'm very confused about who's talking when. Yes, ma'am.
Cannon gripped his handkerchief and twisted the valve, turning off the shower. In the bathtub, a small jar of body soap had been fallen with its cap off. It really looked like he'd been attacked while taking a shower. There was still a small splash of blood clinging to the white bathtub, and the combination of red and white made a horrible contrast. Dr. Nanjo.
I understand. No signs of post-mortem lividity. Rigor mortis hasn't begun either. It would seem that an hour or so has passed since I were killed. But even so, how a weapon with such a short handle could do that to the skull? I could not imagine.
Nanjo checked their pulse and their pupils, making certain of their deaths once more.
Wait, actually, they're fine.
Well, there's still a lot. Oh, nope, there they go. Oh, my bad. That one's on me. I take the L on this one.
As Cannon watched this business-like treatment, he thought, couldn't you tell at a glance that they're dead without doing all that? Nanjo thought about removing the weapon, but then decided it'd be better to preserve the scene and hand it over to the police, so he left it alone. But a close inspection of the base showed that it didn't have a blade. In fact, it was more conical than blade-shaped. He noticed that rather than a knife, it was more like a short-handled spear, something with a shape better suited for thrusting than slicing. Some people might have likened it to a thick ice pick rather than a short spear.
Thick as a pick?
You should listen to that later. At any rate, after looking at the scene, no further words were needed to describe what sort of terrible purpose such eerily designed weapons were originally made for. Nor was it necessary to explain how they carried out their function. Natsuhi, you know what? It's very reminiscent of a... I know it's not exact, but it's giving me, the way they're describing the particular weapon and how they were stabbed makes me think of a lobotomy.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's an intentional parallel, but... Natsuhi, hoping to escape the repulsive steam filling the bathroom as soon as she could, covered her mouth with a handkerchief and dashed from the room. Just viewing their gruesome bodies for an instant had been enough to burn the image into her eyes. If she looked any longer, that image would surely remain in her vision for all eternity. The rising urge to vomit was exactly the same feeling that she'd had that morning at the gardening storehouse. For a while, Natsuhi couldn't help but stand with her back facing the guest room, fighting that sickness in her stomach.
At any rate, we can't let the children...
I wandered up here.
Say it. We can't let George-kun see this room. Seal this room with all haste.
Yes, we mustn't let them see. If George-san saw his parents in this brutal state, so are we all agreeing to lie to him? I just wanted to make, I have trouble picking up on subtext, so I wanted to make sure that we were all on the same page here.
But they could tell that those fiercely racing footsteps in the hallway belonged to George, even before he came dashing into the room.
Hey y'all, heard someone killed my parents.
Howdy, y'all. George and the other children had been waiting in the parlor. However, when they saw Genji speak to Natsuhi, when they saw her turn pale and fly out of the parlor, they felt a sense of foreboding. When they saw a large group of people gathered around the guest room, they were sure of it.
Father! Mother!
Another two.
What is this? Another magic circle?
What? We're thinking of going with schedule. What do you think? What do you think?
This looks like a circle to me.
Oh, I see we have a different purple monarch.
Ew. I like how Maria's got her business face on already. She's like,
I see my services are needed.
It's time to go to work. Get your checkbooks out, you're gonna need them.
Aunt Ava and Uncle Hideyoshi are safe, right? Hey, Kanon-kun, what's this all about?
Battler-sama.
Yeah, that's me. Kanon, I know who you are. You know who I am, right?
Ellipsis.
Kanon didn't have to say anything. George's scream after he ran into the room told them everything they needed to know.
Whoa, that scream told me everything I needed to know. Wow. Who did this?
Man, George is having a rough one. Yeah. I know one of our commenters was given a pretty harsh reading of some of George's actions, and I don't disagree, but damn, this kid ain't got shit onto.
Yeah. I'll kill you. I'll kill you. George-kun, hang in there.
Would you like one of my weapons? Natsuhi touched George's shoulder with her hand, but he violently shook her off. George fell over beside Ava and buried his face in the bed in front of his mother's face, wailing, and he pounded on the bed with his fist over and over again.
George Nissan, hang in there. Huh. Battler? Battler-sama.
Battler had his back against the wall of the hallway, was covering his eyes with his right hand and weeping without restraint. Horrible! That's horrible! Wait. He proposed to the girl he loved and lost her the next day. And on the same day, even his mom and dad were killed. Isn't that too harsh? Of course, it's sad whenever anyone dies, no matter who it is, but to Battler, those left alone by the deaths of others were far more worthy of pity. Everyone here now had lost someone close to them. George wasn't the only one to be pitied. However, George's pain was far greater than everyone else's.
Battler.
I know, everyone dies sooner or later. If you're human, you'll eventually have to fight the sorrow of losing someone close to you, but still, shouldn't that day be far in the future for Aniki? And shouldn't those deaths visit him one at a time? Horrible, horrible, it's too horrible. That bastard, doesn't he have even a speck of human sympathy in him? Ah!
You sure you're Battler still? Battler, don't cry, don't cry.
Maria tried to comfort Battler in a mechanical sounding voice.
There.
Battler violently wiped his tears.
Punching his tears away. I'm wiping them violently.
Yeah, damn it. I won't cry anymore. Hey, you. Tears of regret.
I can't do a Brooklyn accent.
Tears of regret. Tears of sadness. I won't share them ever again.
I'm so sorry. I tried it a little bit though. It's all useless. The witch has got me backed into a corner.
It's got me
I'm
so
always
thrown
on the
off that my
defensive.
accent keeps changing every sentence.
It's a weird condition.
I know. Witchcraft is serious business.
And that's useless. It's all useless. I'll spin the chessboard around. That bastard probably thinks we'll be running scared like sheep until tomorrow before we try anything. But guess what? I'll spin it around. That bastard can't escape this island until tomorrow either. We won't be hiding away, pissing ourselves. That bastard will. I'll expose you, you see. By tomorrow. No, screw tomorrow. Tonight. Before tonight is over, I'll be gripping you by the collar. Damn. Damn, Battler. Them's some big words, boy.
At any rate, we'll lock this room and leave everything as it is until the police come. No objections, I take it?
Natsuhi announced as though she didn't care whether they agreed or not. We're all familiar with how to deal with deaths at this point in this hall. This is common routine for all of us, right?
We're all familiar with how the rules are made around here. I use my rule maker here, and you guys follow the rules.
This is my rule maker. If anyone had been ready to object, it would have been George, but he looked as though he'd shed enough tears. George nodded slightly, still facing away from the others, and when he stood up, everyone else agreed too. Natsu still hadn't opened that Western envelope with the family hat that she picked up. I wonder if they will open this one. But after they decided to leave this room, she decided to unseal it in the parlor where everyone could watch. Oh, okay. Well, okay. I thought it'd be really funny if one of them wanted it being secret from the others.
Yeah.
As soon as they walked out into the hallway to head back to the parlor, some of them immediately felt something out of place. Or maybe sensed something strange.
Think?
Ah, did you notice it too, Maria?
Think.
Seriously, what's that smell? It's awful.
When everyone sniffed the air, they did notice a horrible burnt smell drifting through the hallway. One that none of them had smelled until then.
Kinzo barbecue?
Did Kinzo get barbecued? Kinzo is barbecuing. I don't know.
I would go quickly to check the kitchen. I'm sure I turned the flame off.
Noticing a burnt smell, it was natural that Kumasawa, who had just been using the burn of the kitchen, suspected that their own slip-up had caused it. Kumasawa hastily dashed away. Kaden, go with Kumasawa. Do not let her be alone.
Yes.
After nodding at Genji's order, Kaden followed after her. He wasn't running, but as he followed her, he tried to search for the cause of the smell in other directions as well.
Think.
It truly is a stench that makes the nose wrinkle. However, that doesn't mean we can just open a window for ventilation. Open a window for ventilation.
With a window. Natsuhi, what's a window? Natsuhi, what's a... I want to know what a window is.
It's like a door, but you don't walk through it.
Oh.
It's for letting the air in. And looking out.
Natsuhi was reluctant to open the windows in a situation where self-defense was so important. Let us run to the fan. I do not believe there will be any need to open the windows. George Aniki. Is it okay if I talk to you?
Fuck no.
Oh, I mean, that's reasonable too.
Well, if it's about finding the culprit, then I have no problems.
It seemed that George had managed to climb out of the abyss of sorrow. All that filled his chest now was the quiet flame of hatred towards the culprit who had stolen the lives of one he loved and his beloved parents. The chain for this room was set. From what I could tell by looking at it, I'm positive that it couldn't have been opened from the outside. In other words, this was a perfect closed room.
That does seem to be the case. A fucking again. In the case of the Rose Garden storehouse, they might have sneaked the shutter's key out of the servant room. Or maybe they had a duplicate key. I can imagine many ways they could have done it. But this chain is different. Among generally used locking techniques, a chain is the simplest one to create a closed room with.
You're speaking very
I'm a
fluently
closed
and
room
cogently.
connoisseur.
Oh, okay. This is Jessica.
Only a chain will block everyone coming from the outside as long as it isn't physically broken. So, does this mean the culprit couldn't have gone in or out through the door?
Oh, that's interesting. Just a few hours ago, I seem to remember everyone making a fuss over how to enter a room without using the door. Back then, we were all losing our cool, wondering how Grandfather had disappeared from his room. Oh, the receipt Aunt Ava had stuck in the door on a whim proved that the door had remained sealed. And since Aunt Natsuhi was the only person to enter or exit during that time, she was under suspicion. We never did figure out what Ava's motive for doing that in the first place was.
Yeah. It seems like it's too late now, huh?
Yep. Unless my original theory, way back when, that the adults did solve the epitaph during the first night and realize they were all gonna die, which is why Battler's father was like, I need to talk to you all. And maybe that gave her suspicion to that I'm just spitballing.
Yeah, I still don't think that could have been the case because we saw the conversation right before he knew he was gonna die.
You're right.
So we have all the information that he had. Oh, that's the mic.
Hello, Michael.
We have all the information that he had when he knew he was gonna die, I think.
Yeah, you're right. Do. Aunt Ava proposed a theory about how Aunt Natsuki might have thrown grandfather out the window and left by the door herself. But this door is much simpler. It was sealed from the inside by the door chain. The window had also been locked from the inside, and the bodies had been inside the room. This time it really had been, without exaggeration, a true closed room. That's right, if you include grandfather's disappearance, 3 cases have occurred, and all 3 times the door has been the point of interest.
Doors and corners?
Corners and doors. The first was the shutter. There was a key in the servant room, and if we assume someone knew about that, this really can't be called a closed room. The next was the door sealed by the receipt. However, Aunt Natsuki had entered that room, so if grandfather had left through the window or been thrown out, she would have been able to lock the window before escaping. Or, like my theory, grandfather could have hid it until the receipt was gone and left the room later. Basically, this door can be defeated with a handful of desperate tricks. In that sense, you really can't call this one a closed room either. And now, we have the door sealed with the door chain. And finally, we have to give up. The window, the door, everything had been locked. It was a perfect closed room. The first hadn't been a closed room because everyone could be suspected. The second hadn't been a closed room because Aunt Natsuki could be suspected. But this time, no one can be suspected. This was a perfect closed room because the door chain formed a seal that blocked everyone equally well.
Except Ava and Hideyoshi.
So what do you propose? What do you propose they did to each other?
Tragic accident? I don't know.
They mean, and then I think we can easily dismiss them killing each other. Pretty easily. Anyway, you want to read George's line?
In that case, did the culprit carry out the crime without entering the room? With some method from outside the room? I've heard of these things called magnets.
Magnets? How do they work?
Good point.
Shut up, Jessica. I don't need no scientist telling me shit.
Even though the chain makes it impossible to open it wide enough for a person to fit through, you can open it a small crack. Did the culprit knock on the door to make them peer out before attacking them? Wait, am I missing something?
Yeah, you are. If Aunt Ava's body had been lying right next to the door, then it might have been possible. But she was on the bed at the back of the room. And Uncle Hideyoshi was even in the bathroom. Looking from the crack in the door, you couldn't even see them, and you couldn't reach them with your hands either. Damn it, it's all useless. I don't have a clue. Something was tugging softly at my sleeve. It was Maria. I'll take my usual fee. You satisfied? What do you mean, satisfied? Battler, since you didn't want to suspect any of your relatives, you made a wish. Saying you wanted the culprit to obey Beatrice, right? Well, Beatrice granted that wish. Just as you asked, she did something completely impossible for a human to make you believe in the witch. And now you're complaining? How selfish. Ouch! Like, I've just got this whole creepy thing going on about it. It's just like, no, fuck off, Maria. Come on.
I choose to believe she totally is 100% possessed by a witch right now. And it just so happens that the forest of battlers boop is just plenty enough to defeat a witch.
It's like an Irie scenario. It's like, oh, now I'm Maria. Boop, now I'm Getsy. Oh, wait, I mean... Oh, no. I tapped Maria, who was laughing unpleasantly, on the head with my fist. Sure, thanks for granting that wish. That just now was to thank you, and also to teach you to stop laughing when it's inappropriate. More importantly, tell me, There was another mysterious scribble on the door to Aunt Eva and Uncle Hideyoshi's room. Was that another magic circle? I like how he both takes her very seriously and also is like, come on, stop it.
Yeah.
You fucking kid.
Ow, that kind of hurt a little bit. That one had really memorable and characteristic design, so I hoped you at least know what it was. Ouch!
Badler is not having any of this shit. I don't know, which is why I'm letting you take the credit. Quit whining and explain.
You sure are violent, Badler. I will tell you if you're too mean, you get it? Ouch! I'll say it, stop hitting me!
I gotta say, my favorite thing about this game is the character's willingness to just be like, no, fuck it. I've got something I need to get done, and I'm not gonna let, like, conventions of the genre get in my way.
It's the first magic circle of the moon.
What does it mean? What is this magic circle's effect? What does the Hebrew writing mean?
The writer from the Old Testament, Psalms 107, verse 16. For he has broken gates of brass and cut bars of iron. This magic circle has two effects. First, it can open a door regardless of which method has been used to lock it.
That sure is convenient. She's saying they're trying to make it look like they're a witch because this closed room has a door that can't be opened without relying on magic. And the other effect?
When you walk by unopenable doors in all directions, it opens the door. By using it in a difficult situation, it gives you a solution you hadn't even thought of until then. Generally speaking, if you receive powers of observation and discernment, inspiration and intuition. Yee. Patriot's trying to provoke you since there's no way lowly humans like Badler could figure out how this door was open. Yee. Ow!
Wait, were you just right about magnets?
How do you mean?
If you had a strong enough magnet, could you manipulate the chain through the door?
Depends if it's magnetic material.
No, that's true. We don't know.
Ouch! I'm being cooperative.
Okay, good work. So shut up. I like this dynamic between Battler and Maria, where he's taking her seriously, but also would not have time for her shit.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of this. Sounds great. I'll accept this challenge from the witch.
Maria-chan, things like witches and demons don't exist in this world. Someone killed father and mother. I don't know whether that was someone I know or not, but either way, it was definitely a human. Yeah, but how? How did they reach those two through that crack in the door? It couldn't have been more than 10 centimeters wide. At any rate, I can hardly stand this stench.
That smell. Who is that by?
Isn't that Leonard Skinner?
Is that Skinner? Yeah, okay. What in tarnate? Oh, sorry.
What in tarnation could it be?
What does the word tarnation mean?
I believe meant to be what in damnation, except not saying damn because you don't cuss.
Okay.
I don't know that for sure though.
Yeah, there's no
That's
fucking
just-
cussing on this channel.
Yeah.
Kanon and Kumasawa, who had gone on ahead, realized the smell wasn't coming from the kitchen even before they arrived there. That's because they noticed an even thicker wave of stench rising up the stairs leading to the basement, which they passed on their way to the kitchen.
The boiler room.
I wonder if there's something wrong with the boiler again.
No, this is what it should smell like.
Oh, okay.
Wait, the boiler... We haven't seen the boiler room yet, have we?
I hear they put on pretty good techno sets.
Wow. Nice. I'm just trying to make... Because that wasn't the room that, showed us.
Yeah, it was not.
Okay, cool. So this is new. Okay. The mansion's boiler was in old and in poor condition. Both of them had witnessed problems with the boiler on several occasions, but they'd never smelled the boiler belching out a stench like this before. And what's weird is that this stench only started happening after everyone had left and gone upstairs.
And
so this
someone
is recent.
put Kinzo in
Those
the
body
boiler.
in there. Yep.
What was that sound?
The thing they heard from the basement was definitely the sound of a door closing. Kumasawa had phrased it as a question, but she already knew it couldn't be anything else. Kumasawa was so surprised at the sound that her knees gave way yet again and she cowered. After all, at that very moment, no one could have been in the boiler room. Thank you for the bold text. Just a few seconds ago, everyone had been crowded together around Ava and Hideyoshi's room. So who caused the sound of the door closing just now?
Cannon-san.
After taking a second to sort out the situation, Cannon ran down towards the basement. Since they'd heard the sound of a door closing just now and there was no sign of anyone coming up the stairs, the person who'd closed the door had to be inside the boiler room now. If the boiler room had been a dead end, Cannon wouldn't have rushed in so hastily. But Cannon was a servant, so he knew. There were two entrances to the boiler room. One that opened up to the mansion and one that opened to the courtyard. If they didn't chase them now, they might slip away. Kumasawa reached the same conclusion long after Cannon did, but she couldn't let him go alone. If the thing in the boiler room was the culprit, an opponent who had easily killed 6 adults in the first murder, then no matter how Cannon confronted them, he wouldn't be a match. Of course, with this argument, even if Kumasawa joined him, it wouldn't change anything. At any rate, after a delay, Kumasawa decided that she mustn't let Cannon go alone, and she rushed down the stairs. Are there lights down here, or what? At that time, Cannon was already in the boiler room. The boiler room's characteristic damp heat tormented him. It had always been an unpleasantly smelly and hot place, and on top of that, the room was full of that horrible stench which made Cannon feel like he was going to be sick. There was no doubt that this room was the source. In that case, Cannon should have been searching for where the smell was coming from. However, Cannon kept gazing straight forward as he grabbed a hatchet from a tool shelf just off the side of the door. Hell yeah! Give Cannon an axe! He hadn't stretched out his hand because he'd wanted a hatchet. He'd wanted to grab a weapon, any weapon. Why? Cannon gazed into the darkness where the naked light bulb couldn't pierce. Then he answered.
In roulette, you bet on a number or the colors red or black, vying for a payoff. However, low-risk bets like black and red only offer a similarly low payoff.
The words coming from Cannon's mouth were swallowed up by the darkness. That darkness suddenly started to swirl, glittering.
Oh. Oh,
Damn!
whoa. Oh, whoa.
What's this?
What's this?
Notices butterflies.
Beato. Beato.
It was such a fantastical...
Which?
Do you think you get the banging sound? Hold on.
Which?
Really want that witch. Golden sparkling butterflies that hid in the shadows all over the boiler room flapped their wings, twinkling beautifully, and gathered in the darkness, disappearing. Cannon continued speaking, directing his words at the darkness as it swallowed the butterflies up. But as the butterflies gathered in the darkness, they probably, no, they would certainly, laugh. But Cannon continued to speak without faltering in the slightest.
However, if you bet on something with a lower probability, your payoff increases, proportional to the risk. The master called succeeding despite an astronomical risk a miracle, and called the astronomical payoff gained as a result magic. I have no interest in what kind of magic you and the master were seeking when you spun that roulette. But you forgot something. You forgot that in roulette, there's a pocket that's neither black nor red.
Roulette has a special pocket called Zero, which means the house takes everything in a certain variance of the game. This means that all the coins bet on the table will be swept up just as though everyone has forfeit.
I set my heart on just one thing. I decided that if Shannon were to be killed, and I was left alive, I'd sacrifice this life of mine and bring this roulette of yours to ruin. This isn't one of the master's rules, and it certainly isn't one of yours. I made this rule myself. I'm not furniture anymore. I'm the zero on your roulette.
Cannon's face twisted with humiliation. It was clear that his defiance against his own weakness was being ridiculed somehow. Cannon's brow creased even further, and a fierce expression that he'd never shown to anyone appeared on his face. The hand grasping the hatchet was shaking. His sweat became drops, which slid downward. It was clear that the emotion causing Cannon's hand to shake wasn't just anger. However, Cannon suppressed that emotion.
I won't let your words lead me astray again. Again, he says.
Interesting.
This is where the demon's roulette ends. Wait another 1,000 years in hell for your next summoner, Beatrice!
When Cannon raised the hatchet and tried to dive into the darkness definitely sneered. And sneered at that courage as if it were vulgar, lazy, futile, and meaningless.
Now, this was perfectly timed because just before we started this episode, I was reflecting and was thinking, the one I'm most suspicious of at the moment actually is Cannon. And then, nope.
Wow.
I was wrong.
Did you see the portrait?
I did.
Cannon, his hatchet still held aloft. Couldn't take another step after that. With a clang, the hatchet that he'd been grasping fell and rolled on the floor. And following that, with a pair of thuds, Cannon's knees hit left, then right. That hand, which looked like it was trying to catch the sky, now that the hatchet had been dropped, gradually lowered, landing on his chest.
Is he dead?
Then the other hand did the same. Right there was a handle with a demonic design engraved on it. As Cannon looked down at his chest, the same type of weapon that had been stabbed into Ava and Hideyoshi's foreheads was... Cannon was curled up in anguish, fresh blood dribbling from the corner of his mouth. Was makeup too extreme for Cannon's white skin. What the shit is going on?
Beato.
Around this scene, the glittering gold butterflies danced through the darkness, mesmerizing. It was a beautiful, beautiful dance, a funeral march of tribute, ridicule, and contempt for a single boy's self-sacrifice. Cannon had already been prepared for his own death, but although he could do nothing but accept the death he had received, he attempted one last measure of resistance. He grasped the handle of the weapon sticking into his chest with both hands, and gritting his teeth with an acute, unearthly pain, he pulled it out.
So does this throw off the epitaph? Because he wasn't supposed to die here, right?
It certainly seemed like he was trying to cut the knot,
Yeah.
right? He was trying to be like, nah, no, fuck this shit.
I'm going to deliberately provoke you into screwing up your ritual.
Oh, that's a good angle, yeah.
Because, like, if the ritual needs the epitaph to be fulfilled...
Do you think Beatrice would fall for something like that?
I don't know.
For only a moment, a bright red spray gushed out. It made an unpleasant bloop sound. Bloop.
Bloop.
It probably resembled the sound of Cannon's soul as it was sucked into the swamp of the dead.
Bloop. Bloop. That's the sound your soul makes.
Bloop.
Bloop, bloop.
Cannon-san! Eek! Someone! Eek!
Kumasawa screamed at the incomprehensible sight in front of her. Cannon was lying in a pool of blood. Kumasawa's heart was a complete mess. What a horrible fate. What a terrible night to have a curse. He wouldn't have been killed if I had been with him. Oh, what terrible luck. If I'd been with him, I might have been killed too. As she screamed, her expression was filled with complete confusion. All the muscles of her face were pulled up, almost as though she was smiling while crying, but no one could have made fun of an expression like this. What is it, Kumasawa? Answer me, Kumasawa. I'm gonna bring it back every once in a while. It's too
love
much,
it so much.
It's too much fun. Answer me, Kumasawa. The first one to dash in was Natsuhi, holding the rifle. Battler and Genji dashed in after her.
I sounded a lot like Battler there.
Normally, they probably would have started discussing the origin of the violent stench filling the boiler room, but after they saw Cannon, who was lying on the ground as if he were drowning in an ocean of his own blood, the stench wasn't important anymore. Wait, they can just save Cannon. Probably. Still.
Really?
He only got stabbed like less than a minute ago, and they have a doctor. They got to him and they're here in time.
Depends how he got stabbed. Very much. Like, if it's the heart, fuck no.
Yeah, okay. Cannon, answer me. Genji, bring Dr. Nanjo here.
Shit. We are batting 0 on who is saying these lines in this scene.
Thank you, game. Natsuhi realized that even though Cannon was on the verge of death, he was still conscious, so she sent Genji to get the doctor.
Hey, you fucking called it.
I don't think that counts as calling it. Natsuki,
was
holding the
dead.
rifle aloft, faced the darkness in the center of the boiler room and shouted.
Who is hiding over there? Come out quietly. If you don't come out from there, I'll shoot without mercy.
We need light. Aunt Natsuki, let's light them up.
Blam, blam, blam. Aw, fiddlesticks. That's not
Maybe-
what you meant by light 'em up.
Maybe, oh, you know what? That's on me. I should have used a better phrasing. Battler, thinking quickly, took a large flashlight from the tool shelf alongside the door and used its light to cut through the darkness Natsuki was glaring into. But the light only shone on mechanical piping and a door. The door had been left open a small crack, and it was obvious that someone had left through there in a hurry. Aunt Natsuki, where's that door go?
Genji, where does that door lead to?
The courtyard. Like hell I'd let you get away, you damn bastard! Battler let out a war cry as he slammed into the door. Is Battler cool? Is
Maybe.
Battler cool, actually?
Maybe.
Cool air from outside suddenly rushed in.
His
There were some
voice is
thin,
cool.
rough stairs leading up. Battler ran up them, shouting.
Wait, Bat-Lacoon. It's dangerous to be on your own right now. Take this.
Natsuki was also rushing up the stairs, chasing after Battler. They were in the courtyard. The courtyard of the mansion had been built strictly for lighting purposes, so it wasn't a very elegant place. Because it was surrounded on all sides, the air was calm,
Oh my God,
completely
is
undisturbed.
that why courtyards are a thing?
Why?
Lighting purposes. From back before you could just put electric lighting everywhere. You couldn't have a big block of rooms right in the middle that had no windows, because it would be really shitty to get them lit. Holy fuck. Are courtyards practical?
They're not practical.
It seems pretty practical
Okay.
if you build a big ass building.
Yeah, I can see it. Okay. 'Cause it was
Anyway, I'd like to
surrounded
put a courtyard in the middle of our apartments. Request for comment.
What? Ha? No, I don't have time to deal with your bullshit right now.
Yeah, that's for the best.
I'm just gonna like
You'd better.
tap you like I'm gonna give you a good old Battler tap. Bonk.
Ouch.
Because it was surrounded on all sides, the air was calm and completely undisturbed, even though they could hear the sound of strong winds. There was only the gentle, sorrowful rain. As he ran through the cold and scattered raindrops, dashing up the stairs into the courtyard, Battler looked in every direction. Of course, the odds of him finding a suspicious silhouette just standing around nonchalantly were pretty much zero. Battler spun, looking all around, turned again and again, kept spinning until he almost lost his sense of direction. He prayed that he would see the culprit somewhere in this scenery, but there was no chance. All he saw as he spun was more and more the mansion's heartless walls and windows. Furthermore, there were two entrances into the mansion from the courtyard, and neither of them were locked, because the courtyard couldn't be entered from outside the mansion. The doors had been built without locks. He didn't know which one they had left through. He had to give up. Battler pounded into the wall with his fists, swearing,
Fuck.
Battler! Oh, that's you. Go ahead. Fuck!
Bat-Lacoon, you mustn't run ahead by yourself. Bat-Lacoon?
Battler pressed his forehead against the wall, which he scratched at with his fingernails as he cried. Damn it, damn it, damn it! Aunt Ava and Uncle Hideyoshi, and now Cannon-kun! You killed a full 6 people! And that wasn't enough, so you had to kill 3 more! Are you kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? Aunt Ava and Uncle Hideyoshi were always kind and fun. I just met Cannon yesterday, but I'm sure we'd have gotten along fine with him. Why did you kill them? Why? Why? You know when people die, they don't come back to life again, right? You're not gonna quickly sprout up again like bamboo shoots. Why'd you kill them? Why? Why? Ah! Battler was a boy who could understand the feelings of pain and regret in a person's heart. So he cried. With all his strength. Natsuki, who had always thought of Battler as a frank person, was a little surprised to find he had this delicate side. And at the same time, she understood how easily hurt the heart of a young person could be. So she held him.
Is Natsuki just reasonable and good?
I suspect most of the characters in this game are actually generally reasonable people.
But like, for instance, we thought Ava was cool and fun at the beginning, and then before she died, realized, oh, there's this whole fucking extremely selfish and shitty side going on there. And Natsuki, I just kind of assumed, like, and now it's like, oh, she is in control of this situation more than anybody else, is like
Yep.
trying to be better and help people get through it. And
Yep.
like, that was not what I expected. Huh.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, it's definitely a different read than what I had thought originally, too.
It's all right. I will definitely protect you, George Kuhn, Maria Chan, and Jessica, as a mother and as the representative of the Ushiromiya family.
Badler, after sobbing into Natsuhi's chest for a while, wiped his tears with a bitter smile as though he had been like that the whole time, and tried to appear as though he'd cried more than enough already.
It's all right. I've had a lot of practice at this. Anyway, let's go back down for now. Protecting ourselves is a higher priority than finding the culprit. Tomorrow, the boat will arrive. After that happens, the police will come, and everything should be brought to light. There's no way the culprit can escape this island, no matter how much they struggle.
That's right. When the police come, when the seagulls cry, the crime will be solved. Hey. But for some reason, Battler felt a slight sense of uneasiness, as if the seagulls would never cry again.
As though we had barbecued and eaten them? Was that the callback?
What?
I feel like we had a scene about eating the birds.
Oh, maybe. Maybe, perhaps. I think you're right. That couldn't be true. When the typhoon passes, surely the lively seagulls will return to the harbor again. I returned to the boiler room along with Aunt Natsuhi and told everyone weekly that we hadn't found anything.
It's been a whole week?
Wow. We'd heard that Dr. Nanjo and George Aniki had carried Kanekun to the servant room. The servant room had a first aid kit in a sink and could apparently function as a nurse's office. Kumasawa-san and Jessica had accompanied them. Stains from Kanekun's blood remained on the floor. Judging by the large amount of blood lost and the ruthless shape of the weapon that had fallen carelessly to the ground, I figured that Dr. Nanjo's treatment would probably end in vain. That weapon was doubtlessly the same type that had been stuck in Aunt Ava and Uncle Hideyoshi's foreheads. But wait, is the demonic design of the handle a little different? There seemed to be some small differences in that part. Still, as far as their overall shape was concerned, the weapons were all the same type. Though it seemed brutal, we'd left the weapons stuck into Aunt Ava and Uncle Hideyoshi to preserve the crime scene. So this was the first time we were to have a perfect view of the entire weapon.
Which is why Kanen pulled it out.
Smart boy.
He wanted them to see it because it matters. Something about the weapons matters.
I think you're right.
And he knows it as well.
I think we will know when we get a up-close shot of it. As we expected, the weapon was not bladed like a knife, but shaped like an ice pick. Or rather, a thin stake. And it had a spiral-shaped pattern, sort of like a drill.
Oh my fucking god, it's spiral energy.
Oh my... Simon? Simon's Beatrice?
Yes.
Looked as something that might have been driven into the hearts of human sacrifices in some demonic ritual. According to the handle, it was 25 centimeters long. Half of that was the stake-shaped part, which was stained with a deep red blood. The length of the blood-stained part made it clear just how deeply it must have penetrated into Kanekun's
Is
chest.
25 centimeters like 2 feet? Sorry, 1 foot?
It's...
Less than a foot, even.
Yeah, a little bit under a foot. Because what, it's like 2-point-something centimeters to the inch?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's going to be a little bit under a foot.
Is it 2.54? Sound off in the comments.
Give us your hot takes on imperial to metric conversion. Aunt Natsuhi and the rest didn't even look at the weapon and instead stood in front of the incinerator where the horrible stench was emanating from. They must have dragged it out. Dragged out that thing which had been burning in the furnace. It was still smoldering and kept sending out dense waves of that awfully unpleasant smell. Genji-san and Maria stared down at it. Aunt Natsuhi probably couldn't stand to look directly at it. She kept shaking her head, her back to it. I thought nothing could surprise me after everything that's happened, but this is... I stood there for a while, moaning with a rising urge to vomit. The true source of that unearthly I mean, we called this one.
Unless it's not what we think.
Was a scorched corpse that had been cooking inside of the incinerator. The clothes, the surface of the body, and the hair were all hideously burned. That grotesque corpse was in a state where not the face, nor the age, nor even the gender could be guessed at.
Ooh.
But when I thought about it calmly, I realized that corpse appearing at this time could only be one person. It was grandfather, who had disappeared that morning, and whose whereabouts had been unknown.
Unless it's fucking not, and there was a 19th person, was it?
Maybe.
Who is now dead and burned?
But what would that tell
I
us?
have no idea. I am just going exactly against every lead that it throws at us, and eventually I'll be right.
Honestly, I gotta say, your strat is probably gonna be the winning one. Because this game is definitely way too savvy, and it likes to definitely lead us down paths that seem very reasonable but are, probably wrong.
And yet on the flip side, from being a fan of Higurashi, I also know that everything is fucking heavily foreshadowed, so I don't know that my approach will be right at all. It could well be that something that was straight out in the open turned out to be the thing. So who fucking knows?
And this is the easy one to solve. I believe it is most likely the master.
I agree that he would pass away in such a state. Rhode Island.
Nothing good ever happens in Rhode Island.
Oh, wow, rude.
Sound off if you know something good that happened in Rhode Island.
I can probably think of something if you give me a moment. It's heart-rending.
But is there any proof that this corpse really is grandfather? It's burnt so black you can't even tell what sex it is.
Battler-kun, look at the feet.
Aunt Natsuhi, with her handkerchief over her mouth and her eyes averted, pointed and told me to look at the burnt corpse's feet. Huh?
Notice how there are 6 toes on each foot.
Kinzo had polydactyly? Huh. You're right. Just as Genji-san had said, there were 6 toes on each foot. Each individual toe had looked so normal in his line that I hadn't noticed. The master was born with 6 toes on both of his feet. Made him very stable when he was walking around. Consequently, the master was entrusted with the revival of the Ushiromiya family.
I have heard that since long ago, cases of polydactyly were common in the Ushiromiya family. Probably hereditary. Seems like an awful arbitrary metric on which to decide the family head. And yet...
Whatever. Wait, didn't we know that Kinzo was like barely
related.
Yeah, exactly. So
and the rest fucking died because they didn't have enough toes.
There we go. That's what it is. I'm gonna graft some of your toes onto my foot.
I think that sounds painful.
Well, it's not always about you.
Okay, that's fair.
Polydactyly literally means many fingers. Because of us, I don't know about that, battler. That seems like a bit of a.
No, I think that's a good battler line.
Because of a little mistake by God when the person is born, one of their toes or fingers splits into 2, and the total number increases. Thank you, battler. Everything's just a happy little mistake from God. Like a Bob Ross scenario.
I too am a mistake from God. That's what my parents told me.
Battler, mistake from God, Ushiromiya. But a big deal isn't usually made of polydactyly in the world at large, because it isn't a disease, it's just something people are born with. So while they are still babies, about the time they turn 1 year old, they can be taken to the hospital and given surgery to make them... Wow, battler. I don't want to... Even a child with polydactyly can be treated before they become aware, so they might not even remember it themselves. By the way, it seems that there's a possibility for this to occur in 1 out of every 2,000 babies. Babies. So even though it's not usually seen, it isn't that rare at all. Baby. Speaking of which, I think Uncle Hideyoshi mentioned something to me long ago. Something about how even Toyotomi Hideyoshi, the man who had unified Japan at the end of the Sengoku period, had 6 fingers on one hand. According to Aunt Natsuhi, among the many Ushiromiya family heads, the ones most praised for their wisdom all had polydactyly. Because of that, when grandfather was born, his relatives were all excited at the thought that he might be another wise leader. And yet when the leading relatives all died in the Great Kanto earthquake, it was apparently argued that grandfather should be the one to restore the family because of the auspicious sign of his birth. If grandfather hadn't disliked his position as the head so much, the 6th toe probably would have been pretty lucky for him. Come to think of it, I'd heard about some country where it's believed people with polydactyly should be treated as gods and revered. This is beside the point, but it's fairly common in mystery novels for a corpse to be burned to hide its identity. But I guess that in Grandfather's case, just toasting him wouldn't be enough.
Ha ha.
Thanks. Thanks, I appreciate it. Big thumbs up. And Grandfather's body was not simply burnt. It was just like Aunt Ava and Uncle Hideyoshi. And the thing that had been stabbed into Kanakun's chest. One of those demon ice picks was stuck into his forehead. The head's ring is not on his finger.
So the letter last night was telling the truth.
Oh.
Father would probably be horribly disappointed.
Natsuhi-san let her head droop and closed her eyes tightly. Do we have... Let's just take a moment here. Okay, so we are just right out of any semblance of being in time with the epitaph right now.
Because we had a chest gouge. Now, we're still on the second Twilight. We had head gouging, but 2 of them, and it was the 2
Wait,
who...
well, didn't they just say that Kenzo was gouged in the head?
Yeah.
Man, Beatrice is just moving so quick here.
Yeah, maybe it's not literal Twilights.
Hold on, let's just double check.
Wait. Can I see the epitaph again?
Let me just double check that we were right about having...
Right about what?
Was stuck into his forehead. Okay. I wanted to check that fact.
Head, gouge, chest. So it is an order of killing so far.
Yep, it is absolutely still in order.
The only thing that's out is on the third Twilight, those who remain shall praise my noble name, but that could just be the discussion after discovering the second set of corpses and being like, oh, only a witch could have done it. So
then what is... Honestly, I don't remember Stephanie Meyer writing this many books. I thought there were like 4, and then a 5th one that was kind of weird because it was a gender flip version of the original, and honestly, as much as I love the gender flip as a trope, it's kind of cis-sexist, and, you know. Anyway. Does that mean we're gonna get a whole bunch of more killings tonight?
maybe.
I mean, if Twilight apparently doesn't mean evening, then,
Place your bets. Who gets it in the tummy? Not Battler.
Probably not Battler. I think Battler's the only one we can be reasonably sure isn't about to die.
George
Or-
is gonna get it in the knee and be like, "Ah, fuck, my knee. I'm still alive. Shit, this is the worst fucking day." Ah.
But then he gets killed. It says specifically you kill him after.
Yeah, but it doesn't say it happens right away.
Ugh, I used to be an Ushiromiya like you. Then I took a gouge to the knee. This room had also become a vital crime scene for us to hand over to the police. We decided that we would leave Grandfather's corpse here and lock the room, sealing it. It wasn't clear when Grandfather's corpse started burning in the incinerator. Since according to Genji, the strength of the flames hadn't been that strong, the body must have started burning a long time ago, so that stench could slowly creep out of the furnace and fill the room bit by bit, eventually pouring out and climbing up the staircase. Putting aside whether he was rare or well done, boom. Grandfather had been brought out, killed, and burned, even though he had started out locked away in the closed room created by his autolock. There's probably no doubting this. However, according to Genji-san, the boiler room is usually locked. The possibility that someone outside our group had snuck in and committed the crime was overwhelmingly high. There was also a good chance that this person was walking around with something like a master key. For all the doors and windows throughout the mansion had been checked. But despite that, the culprit was able to strut around the mansion freely. Does this crime confirm that a 19th person exists? There's still that contradiction, since they're trying to tout their existence without ever showing themselves once. Along with Kyrie-san's chessboard theory, I've been using this contradiction to deny the existence of a 19th person. By spinning the chessboard around once more. The very fact that this crime makes it perfectly obvious that a 19th person exists means that the existence of a 19th person is even less plausible. Right, because if you wanted to prove you exist, you would just show yourself.
Mm-hmm.
However, if your goal was to obfuscate that 19th person existed, your only option would be to make it as obvious as possible without showing someone. As long as that 19th person doesn't show themselves in front of us, the culprit could get Grandfather out through the door sealed by the receipt. They could kill Aunt Ava and Uncle Hideyoshi from the other side of a door sealed by a chain, Like, could they possibly go so far as to create a fictional 19th person through strange tricks and devices? We still want to believe that the culprit is among the 18, then the list of suspects has grown very short. Let's take a look at our,
Yeah, wow, we're rapidly running out of Ushiromias.
Yeah, we don't have a whole lot of... I like this one, just all.
Yeah.
It's both very cartoony and hard to take seriously, but also, like, there is something, like, very grim about it. I don't know how to explain it.
That's canon.
But it's... Huh?
That's canon. Still alive.
Yeah. Somehow. It's weird. I can't describe it. Like, it actually feels very unsettling.
Yeah, because it doesn't look like it is the art of them bleeding. It looks like it's just, here's a splatter on top of the otherwise unrelated art.
Yeah, but, like, it's very effective at being very uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Which, I thought it would have been goofy. If you had told me someone had taken, like, portraits like this, and then just kind of put red on top of them, I would have been like, okay, that's probably just funny and cringy. But that actually looks, like, this actually looks just, like, actually kind of unnerving. I don't know how to explain it. Maybe it's just me. Anyway, 4 of us kids on Asahi, Genji-san, Kumasawa-ba-chan, and Dr. Nanjo. One of these people has to be the culprit. Wait, we can't be sure of that. Just a second ago, we started doubting whether the corpse was here was actually grandfather's, right? Maybe we can't think of other bodies in the same way. For example, the first 6 all had their faces horribly smashed. Some of the bodies had kept enough of their faces for us to confirm who they were, but that old bastard, for example, had lost his entire face as though the whole thing had been neatly peeled off. We only figured out which body was which by their clothes and surroundings. Did the culprit prepare a fake body beforehand and alter it to make it look like they died, even though they were actually hiding somewhere after committing the crime?
I hadn't even thought of that.
I hadn't thought of that either. I don't think that's the case, but I hadn't even thought of that. These sound ridiculous, but it wouldn't be an impossible trick to pull off. It's too early to give in to this 19th person. No, this witch.
There we go. Maria-chan, you mustn't stare so fixedly anymore. Come on, Bat-Lacoon too. I'm worried about Cannon's condition, and we mustn't remain in a place like this any longer than necessary.
I am so surprised she's lived this long.
Yeah, let us return.
Yeah, Maria didn't go out with everyone else, but remained in the boiler room. Thing is, she was staring so fixedly. The thing she was staring so fixedly at probably wasn't grandfather's body, but the demon ice pick sticking out of his forehead. It's probably the sort of item that an enthusiast couldn't bear to ignore.
She could collect one. She can collect one. Gotta get them all.
There's like a dozen of them per level, and if you collect all of them, then you unlock a special move for your character. I tapped her on the head. Hey, Maria. What's Beatrice after? Is it all of our lives? That pause was really unnerving.
Yeah.
Beatrice will revive very soon. At that time, none shall be left alive.
How can you laugh at something like that? Do you think you're the only one who's safe? Why don't you feel like you're in danger? Why aren't you scared?
Beatrice made a promise. She said she's going to take me to the Golden Land. The wonderful place where you have no obligations. Everyone's always together. Everyone's always so nice to everyone else. Also, everyone kind of says what they mean and explains it. It's very nice. I don't have to kind of like guess at what people are talking about. They're like, "Hello, would you like to come down for dinner now? Dinner's ready and we'd like you to be there, but it's also not super necessary." See? It's so nice when people do that. I'm so tired of people not like just asking something, but they're really meaning something else, and they won't say what it is, and then
It's okay. They can't get you here.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm gonna I don't know, read, take my Nintendo Switch. Finally start maybe unlocking a leech smash. Time will come very soon now. Just
what kind of person is Maria? I know that what Maria was like 6 years ago when she was 3. She was once pure and obedient, a good kid. Just knew Maria 6 years later, and the Maria I knew didn't seem to fit together. Just who is she, this witch who calls herself Maria?
Fuck, so Maria's a witch.
But Pam,
But-
I mean, like,
Is Maria Beatrice? I don't think so.
I think she's just well studied and just no one takes her seriously, so.
Or she's a witch. There's 2 witches.
Ooh, Beatrice is wet.
Exactly.
I'm gonna stab you. I'm gonna stab you a little.
Ow.
Stab you with my witch powers.
Ow.
You don't actually need witch powers to stab people. Did you know that?
No.
You can just do it.
I hadn't considered that. Ow.
To Maria, who obstinately believes in the witch, this series of unsolvable crimes is proof that the witch actually exists. Every time something occurs that would be difficult for a human, it becomes a little harder for the rest of us not to believe in Beatrice. Must be an intense pleasure for Maria to see her relatives who once firmly denied the witch's existence start acknowledging that witch's existence one by one. Is that why she's in high spirits? Maria, let me ask this one more time. You'll probably answer the same way anyway, but I'll ask just once more. Edith? Yesterday you were given a letter in the rose garden. Who gave it to you?
You. Like I said, Beatrice. But at least he doesn't believe.
Maria only repeated what she had already said. Maria met with the 19th person, the witch. Is that really 19th person, or did one of the 18 just get her to say that? All that's certain is that Maria has been with the rest of us constantly, has always had an alibi, and hasn't done anything suspicious.
Except at that time.
She's simply overjoyed at being made Beatrice's messenger, and certainly isn't the 19th person. Supposedly. That's right. Wonder what's written in the letter we picked up from Aunt Ava and Uncle Hideyoshi's room. I had forgotten about that. Yeah, maybe we should open that bad boy up.
Yeah, we got distracted by the checks notes 2 other murders on the way to the fucking parlor?
Jesus. I mean, like, maybe it's got, like, some coupons in it. You know, like, one of those big coupon books. Maybe we can, like, go get a discount milkshake. Aunt Natsuhi should still have it with her. Well, I guess we'll have to wait for next time for that, huh?
Oh.
Sorry, this episode is long enough as it is.
Yeah.
I'll see you next time, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Smash that like, comment and subscribe.